Hey everybody, looks like we should be live this morning. Yep, we're going live. Hey everybody, welcome to Reading Smoke with Phil Jost. Getting started this morning. We're going to be on scene with Leesburg, Virginia, but we'll give everybody a chance to log in, see if anybody comes into the chat room this morning. Excuse me while I have a drink of water. Wearing my sweatshirt from Battalion 4 in the Seattle Fire Department this morning. My first assignment as a BC. Got a dragon slayer there. Let's see, can I make it closer? Oh, yeah, there you go. Hopefully you can see that. The dragon slayers there in Battalion 4. Really enjoyed my time out there, learned a lot. And so, hey, as we get started this morning, want to, as always, give a shout out to the subscribers, the new subscribers, J Alphabet 5, Chris, Chris, hopefully I get this name right? Chris Sachaki, Mies Man number 1982. Yeah, that's when I graduated from high school, so maybe that was the year you were born, Mies Man. We'll see. Chuck Downey, welcome aboard, Chuck. Lava Tai, great name, love that. Very rhythmic. Dylan Webb, Zach Phelps, and I hope to get this one right too. Zhu Fen Yao. Hopefully, got that right for you. I appreciate everybody that subscribes and likes the webcast and stuff. Is certainly fun. If you're in the chat this morning or this afternoon, give me a shout out, and we'll see where you're tuned in from. Before I go to the Leesburg Fire Department, I wanted to give a shout out to Dave Statter. Here's his website. This is the videos, not the home, but you can see there's hundreds and hundreds of videos here. And if you haven't been to Dave's site, he's got, news about what's going on, that sort of stuff, right? It's really a all-inclusive place to see a lot of stuff. And I got the video this week. GP sent me an email and gave me a link to the video on Statter, and then I got linked over to YouTube. So thanks to GP, and thanks to Dave Statter for maintaining this website for us. Really good stuff on there. All right, here we go. We're on scene with the Leesburg, Virginia Fire Department. And these two, it looks like they're from the rescue. The rescue is parked down the street right there. There's no engine on scene yet, but they're getting started. And the things that we can see right away here are the things that we're going to clue in. One is these windows down here. We talked about this at the SBSK site, and if you've seen that, but if not, we're looking at these. Wherever we're looking at reading smoke, we want to take in the entire structure, right? If there's flames, which in this case there aren't, we want to get our eyes off of that and get on to the next thing. There's just a lot of stuff to see as we inventory the 4 attributes, right? That's the first step in the reading smoke process, is to inventory the 4 aspects of smoke, 4 characteristics, right? Volume, velocity, density, color, VVDC. We compare those to the box and we see what's going on. Okay, so as we look at things like the windows, we're looking at compare. Like, so we compare these windows to these windows up here, and we can see virtually clear up here, or completely clear. And here we have some sweating, staining. You can actually see smoke behind these windows, and BC here is probably getting a front bird's eye, not a bird's eye view, but a front and center, right? Coming back around. And we do have some other stuff. We got smoke coming out through this gap between these 2 buildings that we'll have to explain in our mind. And then we have some coming out of these attic vents. So first thing I look at here is, like, normally if it was ordinary construction, I'd think, wow, if there's smoke coming out there, that's pretty significant. And I'm not saying it's not significant. I'm just saying this is not ordinary, right? This is wood frame with a veneer front, and in fact, could be just one big building with 2 separate fronts put on. Right? Even notice the difference between them, right? There's no space here, there's space here, right? So as these guys are checking out, the primary learning thing we're going to talk about today is the idea, the shortcut of whenever we're looking at the smoke, whenever we're reading the smoke, we want to compare the velocities, right? The higher velocity is going to be closer to the seat of the fire. And so the two things we're going to look at here is the smoke that's sort of drifting out of these windows and the smoke that's coming out around this door back here. And this is where some of our building construction stuff comes in, right? In a commercial occupancy, a door like this, right, is probably an employee door. A door like this is probably a patron door, just from the way it's got the lights next to it, it's got the fancy gable over it, whereas your employee door is pretty simple, right? And usually those doors are pretty well secured when they're closed, right? So they want to prevent people from breaking in, that kind of stuff. And this occupancy obviously has another door up front. This could be a separate occupancy within the same building. Notice even up here at the top, the window setups are just a little bit different from each other. Again, could be separate buildings, could be all one building. And reading the smoke here, I'm going to say this, at least this section is probably all one building. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff going on there. We can also look at the size of the attic / cock loft space. Down here, probably just 1.5 feet, 2 feet. We're looking to measure, just not with a tape measure, right? We're just kind of measure the distance above these, the tops of these windows, figuring that the ceilings maybe 1 foot or so, and then the rest of that space is going to be open, and the ceiling is probably level, which means that the attic space is larger in the front, and that's so the rain and the weather can wash off, right? So that's all probably in this era of occupancy, one big open space, and this is likely at Leesburg, Virginia. As I understand, it's a fairly old city. So with the stacked windows, especially here on the side and in the back, likely balloon frame, right? We want to presume that to be the case till we proved otherwise. So fire here on floor 1, again, we can see that from these windows. Because of the balloon construction stuff, the smoke stuff's getting up into the attic relatively quickly. And we're going to look at the velocity differences between what happens here. So notice how much volume and how quickly it's pumping out that door. And it's doing that, what ventilation controlled fires do, which is push some smoke out, get some new fresh air in, fire grows a little bit, and they do that little bit of breathing. But notice that the smoke here at this window is not coming out with that sort of pressure, that sort of velocity, right? So just go back and take a look at that again. Significant more velocity here than here, telling us that this is closer to the seat of the fire, right? Again, when you look at building construction, say, hey, there's no other way, I don't see another way into this building than this Bravo Charlie corner door. And so if it's the highest velocity that we can find, and that puts us closest to the seat of the fire, then that's a good spot for, these crews are picking a great spot really for fire time. Now, look up here. Could there be a fire in the attic? I think at this time I would say, based on the velocity and the density and sort of this intermittent nature that we're seeing up here, that it's being impacted by the wind some, but probably not a fire up here right now. That doesn't mean that if I'm the IC, I'm not planning on that, right? I'm looking at that going, hey, if it's up there, if it's on its way there, I want to set up whatever your resourcing is for that. You're going to want to start thinking about that relatively quickly. All right, notice that this smoke went away from this alleyway and now it's in the back. That's telling me that the fire's along this Charlie level, and that smoke we saw before was just getting blown from the wind. And the wind's really kind of circular at this particular event. But we know enough to get started, which is the fire on the Charlie side of commercial occupancy. They're going to go through that door, right? Pretty straightforward. You can see they're getting that line stretched, charged, ready to go. So once the fire attack's underway, we're going to expect increases in volume, but changes in color, right? And that's what we're seeing here. Once they get that door open, a ton of smoke coming out there. And it's sort of mixed. There's some gray in there, but there's a lot of clean, pristine, dissipating white. Get a little view of the street. Another crew coming in. I think we'll see what the side of the set. I was wondering if it was like Placerville or something like that, coming in to help Leesburg out. Okay, notice we have that shift in the video. We don't know how much time we lost. But once this fire attack, right, once we have this fire attack underway, now we're looking at these other areas and we want to see color change. And I can say right now we have a little bit of color change coming out here. We're getting some more on the white side of the grayscale, right? That tells me that the steam is getting up there. And we still haven't had any real significant increase in velocity or density up here. Not enough to be concerning, but again, I'm not writing that off just yet. I'm just taking note, right? A lot of clean, pristine, dissipating white smoke or steam. And we're going to keep our eye. And look, we're talking probably 4, 5, 6 minutes in here, getting some ladders up, additional crews arriving on scene, and taking some further action, right? But if I'm in charge, right, I'm looking at this, I'm going, and I'm looking close because everything I'm seeing is a positive sign, right? These crews are killing it as far as fire attack. They're getting their supplies laid. They're, the ladders are going up, right? All that stuff is good for me, but from a reading smoke perspective, the wind's making it a little bit challenging, but I'm seeing a lot of steam. And so that's good for us. So let's look. I want to look a little bit forward up here, right? I'm going to go up further up into the video. And this is a little bit later in the incident. You can see, like right here, you can see that the volume and the velocity and the color, like all of our attributes, volume, velocity, density, color, all 4 attributes from these attic vents are in great shape. This is, 5, 6 minutes later. So as we go through these processes, we just want to take note of the changes over time and if they're positive or negative. Okay, so what's going to start happening now is they're going to start opening up, right? So my guess would be they've got pretty good reports from inside about having the fire under control. They're going to start now ventilating these other spaces to get the smoke out, but also so we can track. So each time they open one of these, you can see that pretty significant coming out of there, but still a lot of steam, right? Good sign. We want to keep track of that velocity over the course of time. They're going to open up some of these other spots. Let's pop forward. See, they're starting to open these doors. These windows are going to start breaking the glass in there and getting the smoke out. Again, for each one of these spaces, right, as they open up and as they get crews inside there, they're going to be looking for extension. And that'll come from velocity of smoke that you can see inside these areas. So once you ventilate these areas, the smoke should start to lift, right? If it doesn't, if you start to see velocity at the ceiling level when you're inside there, you have to follow that back to where it came from. Maybe you'll need some water application, some stuff like that. But in general, with this one, as they open up, they get a big hit, and then the velocity and the density and certainly the color change. We can see most of that is dissipating before it gets too far, right, as it comes outside. Let's look at it. Going to open up. They'll open up another window here. It's right around this zone here. Right, there we go. That window's getting taken out. They're gonna take. You see the one up above, right? This window's open now, and again, look at how quickly that dissipates out of there. A lot of steam, right? Another great sign. But notice that each one of these openings comes with a little bit of increased volume out of the space, but almost no velocity from any of the smoke. Really laminar, drifting, almost immediately dissipating. So really, really good signs going on, right? Really good signs going on overall. We'll get one more opening here at around the 11-minute mark. Purcellville. Sorry, I said Placerville. Purcellville. Thanks for coming in there to help out Leesburg. Crew's doing a great job. And so now we're going to see this door open, right? And again, there's smoke, but really laminar. A little bit of turbulence here, right? A little more flow than I'd like to see. That one I think got open from the inside. So obviously crews inside there checking it out and making good on our investigation and make sure of our extension. So as crews are making their way up to the roof, I think they're gonna end up opening a hole and making sure that that attic void space up here is clear, right? Um, start getting that smoke lifted out of there. And again, because the way this is constructed, if it's balloon construction, you have a fire in the back here. It's very easy for the smoke to go up and across into the space. So there's definitely more work to get done here. I'm sure they were on scene for a couple of hours. Unfortunately, this restaurant probably suffered a pretty big loss. That's what I think it is a restaurant. That would be my guess. I didn't see like a mercantile or anything like that on the front of it. But so that's reading smoke for this week. The primary learning objective when you arrive, right, on arrival, is this idea, the reading smoke shortcut of the highest velocity from the most restricted opening. That's mostly laminar. We're going to see that's just coming out with some significant velocity, some turbulent smoke probably right there on the edges, and so closer to the seat of the fire. The highest velocity from the most restricted opening. All right. Hey, thanks again to Leesburg. Thanks again to my friend GP sent me the email, gave me a link to this. As thanks always to Dave Statter for everything he does. If you want to look in the show notes, you'll see where I'm teaching coming up. I'm doing a couple of virtual sessions, and then my first really live session. The schedule right now is going to be in May at Red Helmet Training in Rancho Cucamonga, California. I got a couple other things working that might show up before that. But if you want to see me or come to one of my classes, always check out where I'm teaching. You can do that at my website, ignitionpointtraining.com. I want to set your mind on fire. All right. So with that, this is Phil Jose for Reading Smoke. Every week here on Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And without that, I'm out.